All right, here's the first draft demo of the new CRM. Obviously, this is not pretty. I'm doing this in Excel just to get the fields right, but looking for feedback. What am we missing? What do you not like? What can we change? That kind of stuff. I'm meeting with the property-based people on Tuesday. So this is the kind of the overview. We have in Salesforce, the tabs, I guess, or the different sections that we're working with are contacts. This would be clients, obviously sphere, leads, any person we're looking to do business with, as well as third parties, plumbers, lenders, title, as well as external agents for recruiting. Listings is a hub for all of the data in MLS. It's just a batch of listings, and there's a way to make it like our listing, and I'm trying to figure out the dynamic of that still. And then we have a section called offers. So if you have a listing, you would create like a one-to-many. One listing would have multiple offers, or maybe just one offer, and a buyer would enter offer records if someone wanted to track how many offers someone was getting or giving on the buy side. Closings is just that, any transaction. This is where transaction management would happen. This is where agents are seeing the status of things. There's an agent profile. So this is kind of like the bio page for internal use, where there's a picture and there's the basic anniversary of joining CHR, birthdays, wedding anniversaries, whatever. But also this would be a section where we have administrative fields as well as business development sections for the agent. Reports is just that, taking anything that we've seen in all of these sections and reporting on it based on what people want to see. And then statistics. I think I can merge some of my stuff into a tab on this, especially some of the things like agent and broker metrics that can't be public, but we can run it through Salesforce kind of privately so people can kind of see this, and it's easy to get to as they're doing everything else. Bunch of email templates we have the options for doing. I haven't explored too much about this yet. And then going into some roles and permissions to kind of outline who can see what and the hierarchy of super admin down to agent and TM and staff and that kind of thing. This first screen is basically the agent profile screen. I haven't dug too much into this yet, but we'll kind of get the idea of what we're trying to do here. This is going to have the bio. This is going to have the fields that we need to contact the agent. Phone numbers, email addresses, social media accounts, whatever. Just put that in here. Anniversaries, whatever. There'll be a section for business development. Because this will roll up and report on an agent, not like pipeline where it's going to be based on clients. The business development section would be in here. And I need to map this out a little bit better, but I'm going to copy what we have in QuickBase, and we can figure out any enhancements we need to go from there. There'll be admin fields. Again, need to figure out what we care about here, but I think we could list who their assigned transaction manager is, what type of transaction management they're getting, from non-TM to basic to advanced to pre-listings to whatever else we develop, to have that here. And the way permissions work, I'm pretty sure, is like this field wouldn't be viewed by the agent or other agents viewing this person's bio. It would be hidden to only people with a role of admin or something to that effect. This is a section that I have some brainstorms on. I'm not sure how QuickBooks works with all this, but I think as things are triggered, like transaction management or sign ordering or other things that we can blend into this, it would trigger an item to be created that would, so we have one advanced TM and we have one monthly bill and we have one sign order and one business card order. This would tick up and we could sum this up and report on it based on the agent and either import it or have a place for data entry where it can be copied over or something to that effect. This one is the contact screen, and it's much more detailed than what I've been showing up till now. But it's basically the central hub for any person that we care about to track from an. So I'm an agent looking at my contact screen. This is what I'm going to look at, and this will also cover contact type. So this can be a client or a lead or a plumber or an agent or title. And this type would dictate some of the fields that show up down below. So we'd have a name, this is a Salesforce field where you have first name, last name, salutation, things like that. Contact type, we tell the system what type of person they are. Other name, spouse name, other names here, kids names, pet names, salutation if it's different than something we've done up here. Quick notes would be, hey, they're getting a divorce, or hey, they just got married, or whatever we can do quickly versus the bigger notes section, which is down below. Closed status would be kind of like where this person is. Have they closed anything? Have they closed multiple transactions? We closed on them, we gave them away, but they closed with a referral agent, or they had no transactions at all. This one hopefully will roll up the number of transactions that we've logged for them, or it can be entered manually depending on what we have access to. The contact status would be the status of this person. And these fields right here, I need more feedback on. I need to know what people care about and if we need, how many multiples we need. But this is what I've been using, so I'm just kind of starting with that. But are they a prospect, a buyer, prospect seller, prospect both, actively doing something, under contract, I referred them out, no activity, or ignoring them because they're not worth following up with. And there'd be an argument about deleting these people, but it's good to have in case you don't want to delete your database and you want to track who've lost over the time or whatever. This would be referral source, more of a personal referral, like Bob sent me Jim, and I would put Bob here. I'll be working with Jim. Lead source, if they were stranger business, this would be Zillow, Realtor.com, whatever. And this could trigger workflows based on it. If it's a Zillow lead, you can do this. If it's a Realtor.com lead, you can do this. Phone numbers, email addresses, mailing addresses. And I've got multiple here just so we have the option of investment properties, that kind of thing. And I'm not sure there's a need for this many. I think 3 is the most I've ever used, but we can have this, or even like a notes section just to kind of list other properties they've bought. This would also actually end up in the closing log, which is down below, which gets integrated with the closing records that we've processed, and those can be imported from past transactions. The record owner, the person who owns it or entered this person, if it's a client, that would be obvious. If it's a plumber, I'm working on figuring out the rights where obviously you can't see my clients, but you can see my plumber. So based on what we have up here, this type of contact this record would be able to be viewed by everybody or just the people that own it or a team leader or things like that. So I'll get more into that later on permissions. Did we refer this person to an outside agent? We can track that here. The referral status. What's the status of them? Are they still in process? Are they active? Did they go away? Did we get a check and they closed? These are the group options, and I'm trying to play with this to see how it works best, but I think we can do obviously as many as we want, but group 1. So you have a field name and a field value. So here the field name would be group 1, and group name would be the type of group. So like I want to track people how I know them socially. So that would be the group name. The group would be I know them socially from poker or golf or skiing or something like that. This could be how do I know someone professionally or high school, college, whatever you think of. I need to get better looped in with the groups that people are using now, but much more flexibility on labeling them and knowing who's who and in what group is somebody in. And you can report on individually or all together on this kind of thing. Lead information, this would be something that Landon and I can come up with on what lead information is coming in. And it's above and beyond the stuff above, whether it's just their contact information, it's, what properties are they viewing? And this would be an integration with a website like Sierra or Real Estate Webmasters or something like that. I believe there's texting options in here. I haven't dug into that yet, but we'd have a section that kind of handle that if it's an option. This is a section that helps agents figure out what to do quickly with that. This whole section is automation. This first section is how can I make my next thing to do with this person easy. I've used this in the past when I was mass producing internet leads, but I would talk to a person, and this is Sphere, even a plumber or leads or whatever, talk to them today and like, hey, it's appropriate for me to call them back in a week. So I check this box, and it automatically assigns me a task in a week to follow up. And I have all of these because they're automatic. It's now because I want to follow up with them later today or have it in my to-do list later today, 1 day through a year. And if it's more than a year, I think you just put a year anyway and readdress it in a year because that's kind of a long time anyway. Then we have these buttons, and I'm not sure if we have the option of buttons, but this could be a checkbox or something where it triggers a TM record or a closing record to be started. So, start TM buyer, pre-listing seller, advanced buyer, pre-list, whatever. This helps kind of automate because it pulls all the information from above, all their contact information, phone numbers, email addresses, whatever we need to transfer over to that closing record. It's just a button click, and the TM kind of takes it from there. This would be creating a new offer. So you're not quite under contract, but you want to log for this person that they wrote offers or maybe received offers on their purchase or their sale. This would be agent defined, so custom to each agent. If they don't use TM or whatever, they want to do I just met a new person action plan, or a pre-listing, like prior to listing agreement being signed, or getting a buyer ready, or whatever. They can kind of program these into a series of tasks which are date related or whatever to then show up in their list of to-dos for that day and for the next week and that kind of thing. If this type of contact, this record is for a vendor, there'd be a section here for this plumber works South Denver or North Denver or Castle Rock or something like that. We'd put the agent in here who entered the data, so we'd know, hey, Bob put this plumber in here. I can call him and figure out what it is and who owns this record. This would also trigger, if it's a vendor, that every agent can see it. And maybe we have a list in here of the agents who have used this vendor, and we can get notes and feedback on that vendor. So if no one's used them in 3 years, maybe it's not as valid as someone who was used that was good last month. This would be recruiting. So this would not be seen by most people. This would be the external agent type of contact. And we'd have only displays if you're an admin or recruiting staff, and if it's an external agent. And I'm not sure what we need in here, but like agent ID and brokerage and a link to their stats profile that I developed, kind of stuff in here that's hidden to everybody else, but not the recruiting people. We have options for template emails. We can draft all kinds of these. I have a ton for working my leads where it's just checking in, or how things coming on your move, or sorry I caught you at a bad day kind of thing, but we can draft all those up and make them pretty. This is pipeline. So pipeline per contact. So I've got my spheres, 200 people. For each person, I would put in here, of the ones I think that are going to close this month or year or next 5 years even, do this. And I didn't expand this based on what QuickBase has, but I will. I'll make this the fields that we care about that are being tracked in pipeline. These would be birthdays, closing anniversaries, wedding, other anniversary, and it would be a date field where it would trigger a reminder every year minus a week. So I've got these birthdays June 1st. I get a reminder on May 23rd or 24th that tells me there's a birthday coming up. So it gives me a week to do something, buy something, get a card, do whatever I got to do. And that can actually be we can make 2 of these. For every birthday, you get a reminder the week before and the day of to remind you to kind of follow up with these people. Same thing for all these dates. This would be the marketing section. I kind of envision this as tagging each client or sphere or whatever with what county they're in, what city they're in, what neighborhood they're in, and what other areas of interest they might be in. If they're in a tiny neighborhood, then they want to have maybe the surrounding neighborhoods kind of listed here. So we can kind of track that, kind of like a hashtag. You search on Denver County or Wash Park, or this would be Wash Park, or whatever. And as we're doing marketing and we're reporting on where our clients are, we can use these fields to kind of track that. I also have in here some house specs. So maybe you want to send an article about, something about detached homes or attached homes or condos or that kind of thing, or people with new homes or whatever. This could also be some stats, like a specific URL using my stats program where we would compile this information and create a URL that's kind of like a home bot. I don't want to recreate the wheel in that sense, but anything we need here, we can put in here as far as what would be helpful as far as the marketing goes. This would be tracking, I think, their real estate review, when, that it needs to happen, the last one you did, and the next one you should be doing. This is the marketing management stuff that I think we're doing now, which will be exported and reported on. This could be like a reviews section, reviews and feedback for a vendor. This would be a notes section where you can add notes for clients or whatever the person is. This would be the task list. So if an agent did an action plan and there's things to do for this person's tasks would show up here. I would go somewhere else to see all of my tasks. But this one, you can organize things by person or by plumber or whatever you need here. This shows you what's needs to be done. This shows you what's already been done. This section would log the closings. So there'd be a line item for each of the closings this person has had in the past to kind of see their history and what they've done, and kind of that kind of thing. This would track how many offers received or offers made with this client. And I haven't gotten too far into this yet, so we'll kind of figure out that soon. And then permissions, like I want to be able to figure out, this I'll go into later, it's kind of hard to explain now, but you can pause the video and kind of look through some of my notes here, and then some of the business rules I'm debating to kind of figure out what makes sense. All right, this section is going into the closings, the transactions and transaction management that we're dealing with. So in order to trigger this, I'll go into permissions as we're kind of starting this section. Ideally, we have an agent click a button and it creates a closing record that the transaction manager is actually the owner of. And the owner means the person who has full edit rights and kind of takes on that record. So this closing record will be owned by the transaction manager. The idea is the agent could see it, but not mess with it. There's a couple things in here that they could edit and do things with. But it would be more of a read-only way for an agent to monitor the transaction. So we have to name each closing, and it could be like agent name - street - client name or something like that. So it has kind of a unique identifier. This would link back. This would be a mouse over to all the contact details, or if you click it, it would link back to the contact record that I went over in just a minute ago. This would be the source. We could track this with closings. Was this a referral, internet lead, Sphere, a repeat buyer, seller, whatever, the property address, the MLS number, and these things, anything that's in MLS, we can create a field out of, because we have that data that's going to be in here. So we're going to have property address and MLS number and square feet and you name it, it's going to be in here, that we can merge into here if the transaction manager needs to know it as part of the process. I think that would be good for pre-listing, where the things we need to care about for marketing or other stuff gets populated into Salesforce, so we don't have to click around and see everything else. We can make a note of the lockbox so we can always have it handy, or the agent can have it handy if we need to. Sales price, any concessions, this might be added later, but it can be added as a field. Any quick notes like, hey, this is a foreclosure, or it's a short sale, or a normal transaction, or there's a divorce, or whatever's happening. This is the record owner. This would be the TM staff who has full rights to record, to edit and record data. This would be an assigned agent. So I have multiple agents in here, so you can see this is, in most cases, there'll be one agent. But if it's on a team, like Orlando, something's going on, we have a co-agent, or you want to add somebody in here because you're going on vacation, that person would then have rights to view this closing record along with the transaction management staff. And if this record is owned by, let's say, Tanya or something, or Laura, and one of them needs help or is on vacation, we would figure out the roles that each transaction manager had to view or not view the other staff members' transactions, to help out or to not see it, or whatever the business rules are around that. This would be the transaction type. Is it buyer, seller, pre-listing? I'm not sure we do pre-listings in here, but I put it just so we could think about it. Level of service for transaction management, and I'm hopefully being able to trigger this from the agent profile screen. We set them up as someone who gets advanced or basic or non, it would know that automatically, and we're going to use this for the rules that we create around the contracts. This would be the transaction stage, and these are the transaction stages. So beginning, past inspection and appraisal, past loan objection, terminated or closed. And hopefully these would change automatically as we get through the transaction, so we know kind of what's going on. Property type, I'm not sure this matters. This might just be HOA or non-HOA to kind of help distinguish some of the list of things that we do in a transaction, knowing what's happening. A detached is much different than a condo for what you have to do, at least on HOA stuff. This is kind of a button that triggers all of the tasks to be created for the transaction. I like this being intentional versus triggering off of the dates that we have going on now. But basically, once you put in, it's a buyer, it's basic TM, then you hit go, and it generates all the stuff for the TM to handle. This would be a note section for the TM to log things for liability, or hey, the buyer said they don't want a survey. This would be a section for the agent to do it. So they wouldn't have rights to each other's, but could still log notes in the transaction. These are the contacts. These would also loop back to a contact field where we had an external agent who might be under the recruiting thing or might not, but just logged as a external agent, or the co-op, second co-op agent, lender, title, and then phone and email fields will be kind of part of this process up here, which will be linked back. HOA information, there will be more fields here for address, phone numbers, whatever we need to contact them. This is the contract date. This is kind of the power behind the transaction management system. These are all, everything you do in here triggers a bunch of things to be created. So if we change it the way I'm hoping, it'll be a button that creates it. But right now we have, maybe there's a checkbox for listing prep and listing prep advanced, which is what we're talking about doing. It's a little redundant, but it's a place where you would go in and put email addresses for people that want to get the deadline reminders. So it's an email reminder the day before a deadline comes out, letting you know a deadline's coming up. So this can be up to 4 clients, the CHR agent, and they're put in here only if they want them. So sometimes it's just the agent, and sometimes we have clients that want them too, or they get annoyed by email, so we don't put them in or whatever. This is the contract section. So we have a date. This would be, contract start to be a date and notes, earnest money date and notes, and so forth, where these dates trigger how the tasks get spread out during the transaction management process. So all the contract dates. I don't know what happens on new construction deals, so I put a section in here that would handle new construction and how that plays out. This is the closing information. Where and when is the closing, who's the closer. If the other agent is closing at a different time, we can kind of make a note of that. Check boxes for, has everyone been notified of the closing? Is there a POA needed? Is there a mail out? Is the buyer going to get a check or a wire? Or what is the buyer's check or wire amount? So we can have that. And all of these fields and all of everything I've been going over can be merged into an email template. So the idea would be we have an email template that spells out closing date and address and time and who to look for and whatever. And we click a button and it gets sent, obviously to save time and to save the process of doing that. We have something in here, we can create the CDA. We create all the commission fields and the referrals and the whatever. This might be tricky because the logic can be a little bit off, but basically hit a button and it sends it to the TM, where the TM can forward it on because it's accurate, or create a PDF for whatever we need to do. Obviously we got to play with this a little bit more to see if we can make it work. This would be action plans that the agent could do for this contract. If they do something different than TM, or they don't use TM, they could still define in this record some action plans that they want to do for their own transactions. This section is for compliance. The way I see it now is we have a document, and we have a list of documents. So this is the document name that is required for compliance. It's a pick list right here of, is it complete, is it not applicable, does it need review, or is it incomplete? And if it's in review or incomplete, you'd have a field down here for notes. So the TM says, hey, this lead paint didn't get a signature, we need that. The agent could actually respond in a text field saying, hey, I just uploaded a new one, it should be ready to go ahead and review it again. Some kind of method to kind of simulate SkyScope or CTM1 in our system. And then I like the idea of being able to take all the actual files that we've created and uploaded at the end of a transaction and downloading them all at once and saving them in Google Drive or whatever. And then in a year or two from now, when these files start to get too big and we're hitting our limits, if there are any, we can then delete all the files from this contract because we've backed them up already and we have those taken care of. Again, this is the tasks that need to be completed. The agent can come and see what a transaction manager is doing, like what's going to be done today, and even chime in. I'm trying to figure out how to do this too, but hey, you can skip this task because we already did it, or I don't want this being done for this client, and things like have some kind of interaction on what's coming up next, and then a history of what's been done for compliance and liability and whatever. We can track, all the things that have been done by the TM. And then here's some things I'm playing with that you can pause the video and look over and just kind of see how some of the brainstorming is coming so far.